Hi friends, host Eric here, host of Talking with Famous People, and today I'm discussing on livestream. I thought about making a video about it, but I thought I'd discuss it on livestream instead. Dealing with dishonest attack. And this dishonest attack comes from Dialectic Evolution, who's issued a lot of dishonest attacks on me in the past, and who has in fact claimed on multiple occasions to be a neutral party who's simply responding to a given position without ontologizing me, or he said the equivalent. So I get this email from him today that says, anyone can see that you are a liar and a fraud, and that you should be thrown in jail for your heinous crimes against humanity. You constantly misrepresent statistics, no example, are ill-informed about the subjects of which you claim to be an expert, no example. Your COVID stance, your philosophical illiteracy, and overall inability to understand basic nuances in argumentation lead me to believe you are ill-suited to run our country and have no foundation for anything you say. Okay, so, of course, there's any objective party is going to say, no, this is dialectic evolution. Who exactly? Oh, his name's. His name's in the email. I could say what his name is. I don't know if he wants me to or not. But this is from Dialectic Evolution. So I will give you an example. So here's going to give an example by referencing your last conversation with Matt. You consistently provided ample evidence to being worthy of dismissal right off the cuff. This is his claim. Okay, so let's find out what ample evidence of being worthy of dismissal right off the cuff I gave. When he was trying to explain at a very basic level as to why God in the traditional sense doesn't exist, you claimed that arguments about the existence of God are irrelevant to faith. Bearing in mind that when people claim to believe in God, they almost always mean an actual God figure and not some sort of guiding principle or moral system. Okay, well, the thing is, my position was my faith is not predicated on belief. That was my position. What's disingenuous about that? That he may be, if he wants to argue against people who insist that God exists, then he should find one to argue against. I'm not one who argues that position. That's not disingenuous of me. I tell the honest story about why I am a Christian. And it relates directly to I needed God's help to quit drinking. I've made that very clear. You say, this is what happens when you muddy the water. You claim to be one thing, religious. In other words, I do pray. And then you claim to not subscribe to any belief regarding the actual existence of God. Right, I don't see it as an affirmation. That's not inconsistent. There's nothing inconsistent about that. I don't need to, I go to the store to buy a hamburger. I don't make affirmations about its existence. I don't need to agree that it exists first. I can still eat the hamburger and enjoy its sustenance. What I'm saying is, for me, faith is not a matter that I adjudicate by a TI. Faith is not something that I say, I'm going to hold myself accountable to TI criteria. I've made clear why. It specifically links to my personal story, and there's nothing disingenuous about that. The problem is, he was trying to invalidate my religious beliefs by pointing out that they don't sustain argumentationally. But I pointed out that my religious beliefs aren't predicated on sustaining argumentationally. There's nothing wrong with that. The two positions are literally incompatible. I don't ascribe. That's why I don't ascribe to that position. Right? Because that way it doesn't matter. Note, I was not affirming God's existence. I don't need to defend my own behavior of prayer against your argumentational standards. There's nothing dishonest or fraudulent about that. I've made clear as to why. I concede that you could no doubt win that argument if I were to have it, but I don't predicate my belief on those arguments, and that's okay. So let's continue on. Then you accuse him of moving the goalpost when you weren't willing to be pinned down on an actual stance regarding the existence of God. No, I accused him of moving the goalpost when he started arguing that there must be a rational reason for believing in God. Remember, he's the one who's negating the existence of God. I never affirmed it, though. There's nothing disingenuous about what I'm doing there. He assumed that I must be this kind of Christian, and he was wrong, and it bit him in the ass. It's just that simple. When he said God can exist in one sense but not in another, aka some definitions of God are superior and others are inferior, you claimed that he was shifting grounds, which is reductionist and intentionally strawmanning. He was shifting ground. His original position was God didn't exist. And then he said God does exist in some ways and not in others. That's shifting ground. He didn't know what he was affirming or negating. My point was, I was describing my relationship with God, and it didn't fit into his model, and you're accusing me of being reductionist and strawmanning him. So that's not good thinking. Here's the problem with the COVID stance. You ignore all the leading health experts and claim they are not suited to give advice. I don't claim that. I've never claimed that. This is what I mean by you being dishonest in your attacks. I've never said that health experts are not suited to give advice or information regarding the proper response to COVID. I've not said that. I've said that, in fact, that's their job. And they did it to the best of their ability. Unfortunately, other people's jobs, whose it was to have discretion about the matter, didn't do their jobs properly. You're just some guy sitting at a computer misrepresenting statistics, claiming that COVID-19 has less than 0.1% fatality rate when most experts know it is around 6% fatality rate. I mean, it simply isn't, though. If you actually look at the statistics as to what the fatality rate is of COVID alone, just COVID, right, with no coexisting preconditions and stuff, it's extraordinarily low. I've made that distinction clear on multiple occasions. I've also pointed out that my figures are arrived at through a certain mechanism. Namely, I point out that since only the most sick people typically are getting tested, especially at the beginning, that those initial numbers are going to vastly overstate the fatality rate. That simply makes good logical sense. You're not talking about straw manning. My positions are not what you say they are. In other words, they're much more nuanced than that. Yeah, I don't believe the fatality rate is being spread in the media. But I don't think the media is lying to us either. In other words, you and I can find the same statistics, find the same data, and we can interpret it differently. You're not interpreting it. I'm finding the data and interpreting it. You're saying the experts say. My interpretation is justified with warrants, specific warrants, namely, that when you test the most sick, obviously the fatality rate is going to be exaggerated substantially. My position is substantiated with actual expert positions on the matter, such as when the CDC came out and acknowledged that it was 10 to 26 times lower than they said. It's substantiated by my fundamental disinterest in the matter. I'm not particularly harmed by COVID. My work is remote. I've taken an incredibly measured and correct position on it the whole time. I've never denied that it exists. I've never said it's a conspiracy. I've never said that people shouldn't take whatever safety measures they want. I've opposed specifically the imposition of safety measures on people who have no symptoms of being sick nor reason to be sick. In other words, you're forcing everybody to prove a negative, that you are not sick. Okay? My position is nuanced and correct. Your reduction of it to this is insane. You also think COVID-19 was made in a laboratory setting when there isn't sufficient evidence and it is irrelevant to the actual conversation. Note, I'm the one who said from the beginning it's irrelevant to the conversation. I continue to maintain that. Even after I made that video where I said I believe it was man-made, I qualified that by saying there is insufficient evidence to determine this absolutely one way or the other, and it's best to withhold judgment. You are ignoring the fact that I said all that. In other words, I did think correctly about this. And the correct conclusion, from my perspective, is that the preponderance of the evidence suggests it's man-made. That the actual warrant as to why it's man-made has not been answered anywhere that I can find. So, in other words, when we think correctly dialectic evolution, we look for the actual warrant. And the warrant is there are two pieces of genetic material that are identical to those from gene banks that have been spliced into the thing, right? When you hear people deny that it is man-made, I've yet to hear anybody actually answer that warrant directly. If I did and got a good answer for it, I'd agree it wasn't man-made. So my preponderance of the evidence conclusion is it probably is man-made. I did not say it definitely was. I said that's certainly the most reasonable conclusion to draw given everything. And I gave lots of reasons why, each of which you're ignoring. This is what I mean by hateful, lying, false, dishonest attack. You're not responding at all to anything I actually said. He says, I know you were legitimately a right-winger because you engage in a dog-whistling technique where you say something is correct or woke, then undermine it and everything else you say by claiming to be trans. Again, you insisting that I'm in this group or that group just makes you part of the problem. That's part of the problem. It doesn't matter what group I'm in. What I'm saying is correct, okay? You can deal with what I'm saying on its merit, or you can straw man me like you do here, in this entire email. You then say, this is a common thing among Nazis and others far right tend to do. You know what else is really common among Nazis and people on the far right? Going to the bathroom. Really common. Oh my God, dialectic evolution? Are you a Nazi? You must be. He goes to the bathroom. I know he does, I heard.
Nazis go to the bathroom.
Okay, so this thing you call dog whistling technique, where I say something is correct or woke and then undermine it. No, here's the thing. I'm picking those aspects of truth, of things that are true, and saying this is correct, and those aspects which are incorrect and saying this is incorrect. And I'm distinguishing between why, right? The most important thing is the warrant, which you keep ignoring completely. So, I mean, this is like one of the weakest, most hateful, most dishonest attacks I've ever received. And so it was worthy of attending to. He then ends with this. Debate coach my ass. You're no debate coach. You're a fraud and a scoundrel who needs to know his proper place. So, of course, I actually am a debate coach, though. And I have been for years. So, I'm not a fraud. You call me a scoundrel, but the only evidence of scoundreliness we see anywhere here is this email, which is nothing but scoundreliness. Dialectic evolution, you are a very angry person who feels incredibly threatened by me because you've ontologized some positions which I oppose, and you can't accept the fact that I'm right. That's the bottom line of it. I didn't want to come home from buying weed to make a video response to another hateful email, but the dishonesty here is fucking insane. You know, I mean, it's so dishonest. Anyone can see I'm a liar and a fraud. You know, you can accuse me of various things. Nobody can accuse me of being a liar and a fraud. Like, when I am legitimately humbled by my reality, I talk about that. When I am made to look good by my reality, I may talk about that too. You know, when I say I'm a debate coach, I acknowledge at the moment I have one client. And I also point out that there are long stretches of my life where I had massive squads and was absolutely dominant. I make videos in which I show the process of me putting together debate cases, even working with debaters. To say that I'm not a debate coach, that I'm a fraud, it's just, I mean, it makes it hard for you to hear this, I'm sure, right? It's like, you know you're lying, you know you're dishonest, you know your attacks are unwarranted, and yet you say them anyway because you're so angry and threatened, is my guess. I mean, who am I to know why you're so fucked up? But this is one of the most fucked up, wrong, insanely stupid emails I've ever encountered in my life. And while it might be smartest for me to just ignore it, in other words, that's probably the best way for me to get the win, quote unquote, to defeat him in terms of his own self-concept and whether or not he makes any sense or whatever, then in that instance, maybe I'd be better served by not responding to him, just ignoring it and letting him seethe. But this was just such a good example of when it's fair to to critique somebody for being stupid. You know? This is incredibly stupid. I mean, it is true, Horse Mumbler, what he's saying about my my attempts at humorizing things that people take too seriously, like race, are in fact representative of a position that we ought not factor race into policy decisions. So, if you think that's right wing, well, I mean, then you think that having Jim Crow laws is left wing, where we prevent black people from voting unless their grandfather. You're in favor of those too, then. If you think that race-based policies are a leftist thing, then be in favor of them all. I'm opposed to race-based policies. Does that make me a right-winger? No. So I think race is a ridiculous and divisive ontological claim that is almost always, if not always, misused or used to no good. Yes, I do. I make that claim. Does that mean that somehow I deny a history of oppression against people based on this false and meaningless dichotomy called race? No, I acknowledge that this evil notion of race has been used to commit evil throughout history, since it was invented. You know, that's my point. Race is evil. It's an arbitrary way of differentiating these people from us. And as a consequence, it's bad. I can't think of anything good to do with the distinction that you are meow race. You know, I don't know who invented it. I'm assuming slavers did. You know, it's like the European colonialists went around the world and they found these groups of people that they deemed to be savages. And then someone said, well, since they're just savages, maybe we should enslave them. And somebody said, but hey, hold on. What if we have a savage, one of us? That doesn't justify us enslaving one of us, right? And so they're like, okay, well, I'll tell you what. They're a different race, all right? They're like a different species, kind of. We know that they're not at all a different species, but let's pretend they are, like as though they were livestock. And we'll create this category called race. And then, you know, idiots go, race is important because people oppress us on race. Race is important. Missing the point entirely, right? That don't play into their hand. Now, is that dog whistling for what? I don't understand the term dog whistling. Can somebody explain it to me in the chat? And yet, you do it yourself in private life in all seriousness. I do what myself in private life? Oh. Well, I mean, I don't think I do. Horse Mumbler. I mean, there may be, look, NI seizes upon identity things, right? And so, it's certainly possible that I might presume identity things, know about somebody unfairly before I actually get to know them. That's the engine of what's bad about racism. It applies to all kinds of things, not just race, but that's the fundamental engine. It's when NI goes wrong. NI says, I know about you before I know you, and I'm going to put you in a box and limit you to what I know you to be. Okay? The thing is, I'm much less susceptible to that than most people are because I'm NI ignoring and I'm knowing forth. So I really do approach everybody sort of probably thinking about myself. You know, not really paying attention to them at all until I look up and, oh. You know, so it is the case that I'm much less prone to doing that in my private life than most people probably naturally would be. And it's not, there's nothing inherently bad about it. It's NI. People develop a sense of identities that they can sum up somebody in, and there's a number of different factors that they utilize to understand identity. So, you know, when I'm in Orange County and I see a like 40-year-old woman who's blonde and fit and looks like she's had a boob job and is driving a Mercedes, I think Orange County housewife. I think Real Housewives of Orange County. I confer this identity onto her. Oh, you're a blonde bimbo housewife who married money and is doing that Orange County thing. That may not be her at all, right? I may have gotten her completely wrong. Maybe she's totally self-made. Maybe she started a business, and finally on her 40th birthday she decided, I don't care what anybody says, I'm going to treat myself to a boob job. And who knows, maybe that's her story. I don't know. But to the extent that I'm thinking about her or knowing about her, I'm conferring some sort of identity on her based on the immediate cues. Now, interface types, FE types, are most likely to over-confer onto people based on
Emergency broadcast system test.
endangered elderly. Okay. Who's an endangered elderly? Must be COVID. No, endangered elderly, like a COVID alert. Like an Amber Alert. So the other thing, I want to go back to this COVID point he's making here. Even if I prove to be wrong about certain aspects of COVID, my fundamental position has always been, we need to measure the total harms and benefits here. We need to kind of a utilitarian approach, because what's happening is everybody's measuring the harms of just doing nothing versus nothing against nothing. They're not measuring it against anything. So, and the other thing is, my position has always been, those who wish to take protective measures to protect themselves from the spread of it should do so. I saw a stat on ESPN the other day that said 55 or 58% of people say they won't go to a sporting event until after there's a vaccine. My position is, that's their prerogative. And my other position is, the sporting events should start opening their gates again, letting people go in, and those who wish to take the risk that's their prerogative as well. I will agree with anybody who wants to advocate for restrictions that say if you show symptoms of being sick or something, that you should be precluded from going in. Rachel and I just got our temperature taken at the weed store. So before they let you go into the weed store, they have one of these things they put against your forehead. They took my temperature, took her temperature. I have no problem with that. That's not something I object to. So it's this intense desire to paint me as, look, you are in my box, Eric. God damn it, you are in my box. Well, dialectic evolution, no, I'm not. I'm not in your box. I'm a reasonable person who's making incredibly reasonable claims about things that are pretty difficult to dispute, but that run afoul of some of your deeply held beliefs that are inadequately justified. You feel incredibly threatened by me, and you're very angry about the threat to your belief system. And that's not surprising, but it doesn't make this kind of behavior okay. This kind of dishonest attack. It's like, you call me a liar and a fraud, but dialectic evolution, are you sure you're not looking in a mirror? Because I've not been lying or fraudulent about any of this shit. My position on God was perfectly fine. I'm not claiming that God exists, so that's okay. I'm acknowledging that I pray anyway. And I have a relationship with God via faith that's not predicated on beliefs. Affirmations, statements like that. And that's okay. When Matt then said, yes, there are lots of good reasons to believe in God, he was shifting ground 180 degrees. Because his initial position was, there weren't good reasons to believe in God. So, what you're doing here is, it's like everything that's wrong with the world, Really. It's so dishonest. It's just not me at all. I'm not ill-informed. I don't misrepresent statistics. I make a point of correcting myself when I'm wrong about shit. I make a point of always being reasonable and trying to factor in all the various factors. So it's like, Asswipe was trying to say that when you joke about race, you're really covertly signaling to not your Nazism to other Nazis, but that's so wrong. I mean, the thing is, I've argued against the race realist guy because I think this shit's bullshit. Whenever anybody in here starts busting out like anti-Semitic stuff, race stuff, I shut that shit down immediately.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's divisive and stupid. I genuinely am opposed to race. I'm not some sort of secret white power guy because you perceive me as white. Remembering that I am transracial. Delilah thinks the same thing, by the way. Dialectic evolution. You're not alone in this. Delilah also finds my transracial position offensive. But the thing is, that's what happens when you let your emotions be in charge of certain positions. If you think about it, and if you actually care about human beings and individuals being respected as individuals foremost, then you will absolutely embrace my position. But it's going to require you to let go of something you've held precious for a long time, your own stupid position about race.
These sweeties are really good. And I think the gummies are good too. Can't tell, but
Yeah, the gummies haven't really done anything to me. Should we eat the other bag?
yeah.
We might as well, because
If
it's
they
not
haven't
gonna.
done anything,
Yeah, we gotta
yeah,
eat the
we
other
should.
bag. It's been long enough.
Yeah.
All right, can you bust it out?
Ship that bag.
Is it forbidden to observe stereotypes? How does that square with MBTI? No, it's not forbidden to observe stereotypes. I mean, the thing is, the great thing about cognitive functions is that cognitive functions, unlike other things, actually successfully allow you to predict how somebody's going to behave. So if I say, you have dark skin and speak Spanish, therefore you must love soccer, there's a correlation with correctness, okay?
Double check.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yet, if I say, because you're an ESTJ, it's going to be very difficult to convince you with certain kind of arguments, and much more easy to convince you with other kind of arguments, and that you will find this sort of thing offensive, and that sort of thing you'll validate. Those predictions can be reliably validated consistently. It's a very different kind of thing than saying you're a race, blah, blah, blah. Because a type is not arbitrary, whereas race is. If you have a racial identity, that's fundamentally arbitrary. Because what comprises meaningful data about your racial identity? Anything I say is racist. So if I say like, well, here's something that comprises meaningful data about being Asian, you're good at math. Well, then I'm racist. If I say, here's what comprises meaningful data about being a white person, it's blah, 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 blah. Then I'm being racist. So, do you see the problem here? Since we can't meaningfully distinguish any data about it and then apply it to any individual instance and have it actually do anything but confer our own arbitrary perceptions onto the other person, then we want to not do that. Typology is the exact opposite. It's like saying, because you are 6'4", because you are 6'4", you can touch this without jumping, and because you are 5'7", you cannot. Those are very different kind of ontological mantles to place on somebody, right? To say that because you are black, you must dance well is a very different ontological mantle to put on somebody than because you are 6'4", you must be able to touch this thing that's 7 feet tall without jumping. So, and you can see that the main difference is that one is objectively so and the other is not. Now, Horst Mulber has insisted from day one and opposed me somewhat about my race position. And I want to stress that I acknowledge that my position on race is reductive and that I don't really address it in all of its nuance. And I'm going to point out that that when one sees a vast amount of effort being directed towards pulling something in the wrong direction, then focusing heavily on how maybe we shouldn't be pulling it in that direction. Maybe we should be leaving it set where it is, or moving it a little bit over here or a little bit over there. Then that's not sufficient. That's not a sufficient response. So the first thing that needs to happen is to pull strongly back in the opposite direction to break the momentum and clarity of the existing vector. Now, after that occurs, then one can have a more nuanced conversation about it. But right now, people aren't ready to have a nuanced conversation about it because they're so heavily invested in what's fundamentally a wrong position about it. So I'm not denying, Horse Mumbler, that there's a more nuanced understanding of it. But until we acknowledge the fundamentally arbitrary nature of it, then we can have a real conversation about it. But right now, everybody is in wrong boat number one, and the best thing to do is to try to shoot down wrong boat number one, make them in the water, and then pick them up in lifeboats and go, okay, let's lead our way to a meaningful conversation about this now. I know, isn't it ironic that people say we ought not to factor matters of race into policy as equivalent to Nazism? One of its core tenets was that we ought to factor race into policy. Strange, huh? Context, please watch this email I received here. You can probably see it in the live stream, hopefully. You're supposed to be able to.
I can see it.
Okay. And basically how it reveals everything that's wrong with the world. This person is so angry and threatened by what I'm saying that they send me this long, well-written pile of bullshit that's full of nothing except just empty attacks. None of which are actually responsive to anything I say. And all of which try to conflate my positions and arguments and stuff with my decency as a human being. I'm a bad person because. That's fundamentally the message here, you know? I'm a liar and a fraud.
Those are not the things that I would label you as. There are other labels, but not those.
The other thing is, it's weird because he says, I'm ill-informed about the subjects about which I claim to be an expert. I'm pretty careful about only claiming expertise in those matters in which I'm extremely well informed. You might be able to argue I'm wrong. Maybe I'm disingenuous in my motivations or something. But to argue that I'm ill-informed in areas where I claim to be an expert, I mean, I'm pretty fucking well informed, you know? Sorry, I don't think anything
That's so
false.
true. I like that. I like that fire in you.
If he says I'm not well informed about argumentation or something, which seems to be the implication based on what he says here at the end. That debate coach my ass, you're no debate coach. You're a fraud and a scoundrel who needs to know his proper place. And what is my proper place? Dialectic evolution. Do tell. What is my proper place?
You've only done debate coaching for like how many years?
I mean, over a decade for sure.
Exactly.
And I don't know how you do that, Carmen Spank. That's a good question, though. I thought it was funny how I was watching the premiere after I woke up this morning, and a couple of people were saying, Eric, blah, 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 and then being mad that I wasn't responding. And Winston's mom says, you know, he probably uploaded it last night and premiered it, and he's probably still sleeping, which was exactly right. And everybody just ignored that and continued like pestering me as though I were there. I wasn't there. I was asleep.
Facts.
Carmen Pemp, you were one of the culprits of that.
Oh man.
And a logical conversation appeals to decency are often misplaced. It's appeal to consequence rather than truth. Well, I mean, you know, you can appeal to things. You can appeal to a lot of things here. I would hope that this live stream appeals somewhat to civility, but I can't help but being somewhat adversarial towards these kind of attacks because I feel like, I mean, I don't know. It's weird. It's the best thing to do usually when people attack like this is, from my experience, what I hate most is being ignored. So, you know, ignoring is always a good strategy.
Ugh. I don't like being ignored either.
But, I don't know. Lately I just feel like, okay, if it's not something that's just entirely redundant and something I've heard before as a critique that's just silly and I've already answered it or whatever, this one seems quite specific, you know, then go ahead and answer it. Part of the reason why I think I used to be less interested in answering or more emotional when answering, get more mad, is that I had a little bit of fear that they were right in some regard. I really think that's passing, but you know, I think it'll always be the case. I'm FE third, so it means I'm looking to see something that validates on FE levels as well.
I think we validate on FE levels.
Okay, darling. Let's see here. Ink pink, muscular, bad smell. Tough huff. Tough huff would work. Because carrot sounds more Chadley. I like the use of Chadley as a adverb.
Adverb?
Yeah, it's an adverb. Strong pong. Where's the smell? Pong's not a smell, is it?
It's more.
I would like to think that this is something that I would like to affirm the statement. I would like this to be generally believed to be true. Not only is Eric articulate, but he backs it up with substance and intellectual honesty. I want everyone to think, okay, if we got to concede anything, we got to concede that. That's what I want in life. If everybody can concede that, then at least, even if they disagree with me, like there's a chance they'll vote for me. There's a chance they'll be interested in what I have to say about something. They'll take me seriously as a human being first, rather than a spout of positions.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't want it to go the opposite way. I don't want people to denounce me as a human being rather than my positions. So it's kind of, I guess, hypocritical in that regard. But what are you going to do? Life's a funny thing. Life's a cabaret, as they say. When people say life's a cabaret, what do you think they mean?
Half gay? Like, that's what I think.
Like, I think like a nightclub party where people
Yeah.
dance or something?
Yeah.
Is that what a cabaret is?
Yeah, it's like, cabaret is very French. The French usually go there and they would get drunk and a woman would be like, oh, you know? And there'd be a band. It's cabaret. They do like these kind of moves, you know? Cabaret. Fucking hate
So,
Cabaret.
do actual... You're stepping on my charger. Do actual men do... I mean, do actual women ever do that? Or is it always men pretending to be women?
Only...
Or Liza Minnelli does it, right?
Yeah.
Liza Minnelli, to me, is the one thing... The one definition I can think of when it comes to cabaret that I feel is non-definitional but informative. Like, if you want to express cabaret in a word that's not a definition, Liza Minnelli seems like a good answer.
Yeah, it is a good answer.
Do we have any Liza Minnelli fans here?
Movie Cabaret.
Any Liza Minnelli fans? Besides me? Any? I've seen everything
yes,
Liza's in.
Mom.
Who's seen... How many things has Liza Minnelli been in anyway? What did she
Cabaret.
do? But anything else? Like, did she have a career, or is she just Liza
she's
Minnelli?
most known for her role in Cabaret.
Is she kind of like Charo?
Yeah, she's New York's Charo.
She just says coochie coochie coo, and that's it?
Yeah, she's... But, like, Liza Minnelli will give you a little bit of that. She's known to have a very high gay fan base.
So, but I mean, okay, so let's say that homosexual males are really into Liza Minnelli. What does it mean to be? Like, what do you rewatch one movie she's in over and over again?
Probably.
Or do you...
No, she's like in a lot of like Broadway shows.
New York was a bad Liza Minnelli movie? Okay, is she in Broadway? Was she in a lot of plays? Is that why I don't think of her?
Yeah, she's in a lot of Broadway plays. She
was in Arthur with Dudley Moore?
Oh, we should see that.
We should see that.
I've never seen that.
Because I think I'd finally get an answer to my pressing question that I've had for such a long time. What should I do when I get caught between the moon and New York City? That movie has the answer. Yeah, that's the movie with the answer to that question.
Oh my gosh, we definitely have to watch that.
Do you know what the best that you can do? You know what it turns out the best you can do is?
Fall in love.
Fall in love. That's right. That's the best thing you can do when you get stuck between the moon and New York City. She's Liza Minnelli, Judy Garland's daughter,
Yeah,
right?
Judy Garland's daughter.
Now, somebody else said Elvis. Was Elvis making it with Judy Garland?
That's an interesting couple.
Did Elvis smash Judy Garland would be a good title for a live stream.
That really is.
In the Rari. Did Elvis smash Judy Garland in the Rari? How many people can legitimately say that they have smashed in a Rari? And I will accept either of two meanings. Either you crashed your Ferrari or you had sexual intercourse in a Ferrari. I think smashing in the Rari is the new Mile High Club.
Yeah, it should be.
Rari Smash Club is...
Raris are more expensive than plane tickets now, so...
Mm-hmm. But you know, it's also accessible. You could rent a Rari for a day, smash in it, and then take it back. And then you could join the Rari Smash Club.
Rari Smash Club. I like that idea.
Sometimes referred to as Club Dank. It's a youth culture thing. You wouldn't understand, old man.
New York, New York, it's a wonderful town. So yeah, she's famous for being flamboyant and Judy Garland's daughter and being in Cabaret.
And what was she in Cats?
Oh my god, if she was in Cats.
I really want her to be in Cats.
I don't know, she might have been.
Was Judy Garland in Cats? Seems like a good question to Google.
You should.
I think she was the main cat. Man.
Oh my god! No, I can't.
Judy Garland.
Wait.
I'm not Judy Garland. Liza Minnelli. Liza Minnelli. Minnelli in Cats. Was Liza Minnelli in Cats? Legends Falls put Rari Smash onto the to-do list. That's good to know. I'm glad to see that I have been able to help an ESTP come up with some purposeful life plans. Okay, well, here's a sexy live performance by Liza. Some Cats Know.
See, like, it's like, she, like, does cabaret stuff. She does, you'll see.
Alright, let's do this. Let's look here at the whole thing. Let's go back to this way. Alright. What else about Liza Minnelli? Let's find out about her. She's still alive, apparently.
Yeah, she is.
That surprises me. Still alive. Yeah, she's still active too. Still working apparently on something.
Yeah, she does work on Arrested Development.
Alright, let's see here. Oh, she's done Arrested Development?
Yeah. She's Lucille too.
Let's see here. They wrote, produced, or directed many of Minnelli's future stage acts and TV shows and helped her create a stage persona of a stylized survivor, including her career-defining performances of anthems of survival, New York, New York, Cabaret, and Maybe This Time.
See, it's mostly cabaret.
Along with her roles on stage and screen, this persona and her style of performance added to Minnelli's status as an enduring gay icon. Critically lauded for her early non-musical screen performances, especially The Sterile Cuckoo. It's an odd name for a movie.
Yeah.
Comedy drama that tells the story of an eccentric young couple whose relationship deepens despite their differences and inadequacies, starring Liza Minnelli, Wendell Burton, and Tim McIntyre. Okay. An award-winning TV special, Liza with a Z. I really want to see a part of that. I bet it's quite ridiculous.
I can't wait.
Liza with a Z.
Liza with a Z.
On June 22nd, 1969, she lost her mother, Judy Garland, who was 47.
That's so sad.
Most of her following films, Lucky Lady, New York, New York, Rent-A-Cop, Stepping Out, were panned. She had no more major movie hits except Arthur, 1981. She returned to Broadway.
I want to see that.
The Act, The Rink, Liza's at the Palace. In 2008, Carnegie Hall, Radio City Music Hall. She toured with Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. in Frank, Liza, and Sammy, The Ultimate Event.
Wow.
From 1988 to 1990. Wow.
Yeah.
Let's see. I want to go down to her meows. 2010, she was in Sex and the City 2.
Wow.
2013, she was in Smash.
Wow.
Which is a show exclusively about smashing in the Rari. 2013 is her last work, it looks like. I don't know what she's been doing the last 7 years.
She was on Arrested Development. I mean, that should be on there.
That's 2013. That's the last.
Really?
Yeah, same year. Why doesn't Liza Minnelli work anymore?
Well,
Since the 2010s, she has avoided a concert in favor of small retrospective performances.
yeah, like she's like, you know, up there in
2018.
age.
Oh, look at this, 2018. Liza Minnelli and Michael Feinstein performed together at OC's Sergerson Center. So that's 2018. That's pretty recent.
Yes, that is.
It's understandable why she wouldn't do anything in 2020 because of COVID.
Yeah.
I really hope she acted like the lady in that SNL short when she performs. I really hope she sort of staggers around the stage and that bugger that. That'd be great. Oh, Liza Minnelli, you're so great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna say
I would see Arthur. I definitely would see Arthur.
we shall see it, my
I
darling.
feel that could be like a watchable film.
We shall see it.
Feinstein's is a cabaret in the Charles C. Charlotte Sea Hotel on Upper East Side. I go there when I am there. I saw Carol Channing last time I was there. That's so fun. And since Mom, you're a real New York lover. I don't spend a lot of time on the Upper East Side, to be honest with you. Like, mostly because I don't know the green train that well. I spent a lot of my time in school on the Upper West Side, because I took a class at Fordham, and so it like forced me to like learn the subways, and like I was forever grateful that I had to go through that, because knowing the subway system is so easy once you get to learn it, and then it's so cheap to travel everywhere you want to go. So once you get it down, it's like fun.
Till the day he takes the T-bird away.
Yeah.
Um.
And that's happened.
Now I want to direct a comedic version of the cabaret song featuring a slightly wobbly chair. It's a good idea. I wrote this document a while back. I thought maybe just have something to open up over here. I'll put this up here. Most people are healthy enough to concern themselves with matters beyond ending immediate distress. And provided one is not in physical pain or otherwise debilitated by ill health or injury, people care about. Let's find out what people care about. Let's see what Eric has to say about that. Probably something stupid. Let me make this a little smaller. A little bigger. And let me make it a little bit meower as well. Like so. There we go. Okay, so as you can see here.
Yes, that's perfect.
As you can see here, I made a list of things that people care about. Which is on the list? Sex, status, predictability, fairness, authenticity, opportunity, motivation, sensation, distinction, efficacy, and validation. I thought it was a nice sort of overview list of things.
I was thinking about if our sexual intercourse, like this morning, and how we linked up well from the beginning.
Yeah, we did. And we've only gotten better over time, too.
Yeah.
I'm going to put here sensation. That's the experience part, I guess. Also, yeah, sensation. That's fine. Opportunity. So it's like, you basically classify anything people care about in one of these categories. If you say skiing, well, that'd be 8. Possibly 9, or 2. If you talk about gambling, it could be 6 and 8. Assuming sensation includes stimulation of some sort. Could be 3, in the sense you can predict you're going to lose, I guess. It could be status, it could be a number of different things. But in the universe, distinctions regarding the universe, instantiated or unclassed, that is, say, distinct or unknown. B, meaning, sensation, as say, defined, experienced versus communicable, ineffable. Status, process, turn-based, real-time, interested, disinterested, subjective, objective, conditional, causal, conclusion, decision. Field object, observer field, field object, observer subject, subject object, subject field. These are the permutations I can think of, I guess. That's assuming there's not agent mixed into the mix. Oh, it is observer. No, it does have subject. It does have subject, object, observer field. Okay, cool. Did I get all the permutations? Doesn't seem like all of them. It can't be observer. That's why. It can't be object. Can't be object field if you're an object, so that must be the right way. Okay, dimensions, metaphysical, physical, time variable, time linear, ineffable or effable, actions, ideational, causal, Epistemology is illusory, subjective. Frames, valuation, legitimization, impacting, elocutionary, normative. Ontologies, free-frame, damp frame, frame blind, frame locked, frame exhausted, prescriptive metaframe, load redundancy, metaframe. I don't remember what I meant when I said all that stuff, though, was the thing. I know I meant something. I seriously do. I know I meant something, but I don't remember what I meant exactly. I have to think through it again. Let's see here. Oh, food. Yeah, I should probably put food on there. It's a good point. Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, as a Christian, how seriously or literally do you take the Bible? Well, I ascribe to the central Christ narrative, which is one of that operationalizes to prioritizing forgiveness is the optimally realized Platonic moral state, and that Christ died. That God gave his only Son to demonstrate this in a very concrete fashion. And I think that the big challenge for every Christian is and probably for every human being, is the complicated management of both negative moral prohibitions and positive moral indications, and the lack of clarity in the latter. Sometimes people, in my opinion, it is incorrect to do so, in my opinion, but sometimes people will try to. I lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was saying. It doesn't matter.
Sorry, I hope I didn't make you lose your...
No, I looked over here, and you know how that goes. My trains of thoughts are only very loosely connected to the tracks. They can fly off the tracks at a moment's notice. Jason Stokes' pip chicks are strong little candies. Pip chicks are strong little candies, and Curious George was a good monkey as monkeys go. I'm fond of curiosity, not spelling it, but being around it. You would think most ENTPs aren't religious. Well, I was raised atheist, and I was not. I didn't self-identify as religious at all prior to my early 40s, when I went to Alcoholics Anonymous to have them assist me in quitting drinking. And at that point is when I incorporated God and prayer into my overarching worldview. And one of my positions is that, for me anyway, attaining meta-rationalism required me to make the challenging decision and challenging leap to include magical thinking frames in my means of analysis. The most natural thing for an ENTP to do is to reject those magical thinking frames.
I'm having SI like back and forth.
Do you want to go? You want to eat something? Is that what you're saying?
No. Actually, I took a shower this morning, but I didn't wash my hair, and now I'm like playing with it, and I feel like I could go for a shower, but I need motivation. I'm so lazy. I don't want to do it. That's exactly my feelings towards it. I am lazy and I don't want to do it, but I can't take it at the moment. It's just like driving me nuts.
Well, you go do your thing, baby cakes.
I have a question.
Yes, darling?
Should we keep this bag for anything?
No.
Okay, cool, because I've been using it as a garbage bag.
That's fine. Okay, so,
Alright, cool. No shower it is. I already showered this morning. I'll shower tomorrow morning.
do rational and irrational functions actually even need to pair up to have a cognitive event? I don't distinguish between functions as rational or irrational. I don't make that distinction. I'm not denying that such a distinction exists, but I've not thought about that at all particularly. I don't think it's a meaningful distinction to make. What does he consider rational functions? Keeping in mind that perception or judgment, so all the functions are rational? Wait, so which ones are rational? Oh, yeah, that's correct. TI needs to pair up with SE or NE. Correct. In other words, the reason though for that is because action functions need to pair up with deliberation functions because the two things go together. So this paper that you see over here on the screen is an example of action deliberation, where I write out a bunch of ideas, anticipating all the possible arguments against and for, etc., and lay out a bunch of things, or outline sort of extroverted intuition stuff, or whatever. This is action deliberation. This is the work product of an action deliberation type. The alternative to that is to be a knowledge interface type. And the reasons why those functions pair with each other lie in the fact that to interface is to engage dynamically with another dynamic system. That requires the instantaneousness of knowledge, not the certainty or not the increased contextual understanding and possibly increased certainty of a deliberative approach. So, but the answer, actually, I want to answer that again, though, differently. They need to pair together like that in the stack. They don't need to pair together to have a cognitive event. No. So it's absolutely the case that you can get, and we can prove this very easily. We can get an ENFP and an ENTP together in a room. Now, if it were the case that for cognitive events to occur, that NE had to engage with the TI or the FI for a cognitive event to occur, then it would not be the case that it would be possible to tell the two types, that you would always be able to tell the two types apart. So we would not be able to find a way that we could communicate back and forth over time that wouldn't reveal in very short order the fact that one's TI and one's FI. But the fact is, the ENFP and I can joke around back and forth, never approaching specifically TI calculation as a matter of concern. When I make jokes, it doesn't involve TI in any meaningful sense. So whenever I successfully make a joke anyway, it's an NI thing that hits me that this will be funny, and I say it. I don't deliberate it out at all. I don't do any calculation on it. It's NE, NI, and SE, I guess. No, just NE and S, just NE and NI, really. With FE, understanding, because it's more correct to say that knowledge can't happen without a frame of reference than it is to say that action can't happen without a frame of reference. Or maybe it's more proper to say action can happen within an interface frame of reference in a way that that interface has more trouble acting in conjunction with a deliberation constraint, I guess. So, okay, try to understand how these functions relate to the process of metacognition. Well, see, metacognition specifically is going to be somewhat the domain specifically of the meta-analysts, and to a lesser extent the analysts in its most removed form. The types that are the most metaphysical types are INFJ, ENTP, ENFJ, INTP, and those four types are the most removed from the experiential frame of reference. So those four types are the most likely to understand things through the map. They like to act upon the map, that is to say, they like to act with words and ideas rather than a shovel and a pick or whatever. And they like to validate those ideas. The NTPs especially, but all 4 of those types like to validate their ideas with TI, which is to say, do your words withstand muster, defensibility on a larger frame of reference than your own personal opinion or something. And ultimately that plays out to, does this withstand logical scrutiny? So for those most metaphysical types then, the biggest risk is for them to go through life mistaking the... Sure. That sounds fun. Here, I'll put a link, you go to it, okay? Oops, not that. No, yes, this, wait, yes. Biggity, yeah, I don't think I can change my camera, but that's fine. Turn this camera off. And then I'll copy the link. And then I've got to run away. I've got to get away. Here's a meow. So you'll have to knock and then I'll let you in. And no, we're not playing Among Us today. And then I'm going to make this small. And what else am I going to do? I'm going to look at this like so. And then I'm going to meow the meow like meow. Eric, answer please. Okay, what am I answering? What am I answering? What makes an inner life rich is how quenched your own thirst is. That's my answer.
Ooh.
It's the quenchiest.
I need to quench my thirst.
I could quench my thirst too.
Would you like something from the fridge?
Yes, I would.
What would you like?
Anything. Surprise me.
Okay.
Here we are. Oh, I gotta let him in. I forgot. Yes, you can let in. Come on in. It's Kenton.
Hey, Kenton.
Hey, Eric.
Hi, Kenton.
Let me, okay, we're good to go. How's it going?
It's going well. How's it going with you?
Pretty well. I'm a long time, just lurker on your channel. It's good to be here.
Would you like a bong rip?
I have the bong right here, actually. I could do the commemorative bong rip.
Cheers. I gotta tell you, I'm pretty stoked. I got this at the store. We were gonna get this other stuff, and then they were just putting this shit out on the shelf. 34%.
How do I don't see you. I only see me.
You can't see me in that room because
Okay.
the camera is making it so the live stream viewing audience can see me and you both, but you can only see you.
Okay,
But you can hear me.
I can. All good. But anyway, I had a few questions. So the reason why I even asked about the pairing, let me go back to my original question and see if I can reframe this in a bit better way. My main curiosity, I've come across objective personality, and their whole idea of the animals is kind of what I was getting at. This idea, the way that I understand what they're getting at is that to have a cognitive event, to have your attention be come to the forefront, and I would imagine that attention would entail some kind of pairing of functions. That the pairing of function is implicit in the moment of attention actually happening, and that obviously doesn't gel with your model.
Well, I mean, I define an event as a named stretch of time. So it's like people be, and their being does not always comprise events.
Okay.
So what I mean by that, I guess, I know I'm equivocating on the term event. Let me clarify. When I pay attention to something, like I'm paying attention to this question right now, it's asking me to understand process analysis in a way that I've not been asked to understand it exactly before. So
Sure.
I'm extrovertedly intuiting, I guess, by response, and then I mean, okay, so here's my take on it, I guess, is that it's a misunderstanding of process. That on the map and in the model, we have to have things reduced down to binaries, which means it is true that there's going to have to be an event, right? Like, if we're going to model it, you'd have to accept that agent X takes action B against object C, who's also agent V, and it's like you'd have to be able to model it like that, and then be able to predict and or program responses accordingly. But I'm not quite sure what is meant by what you said. Can you repeat and explain what you said?
Let me give you some background into my understanding of I guess the process of cognition itself.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of a Buddhist idea. It's the idea that you have attention and you have awareness, and the mind oscillates objects that arise in the awareness to the attention. And so what I'm trying to relate is sensation and intuition to something akin to awareness, and relate thinking and feeling to something akin to attention, the actual directed kind of cleaving deliberation on the thing. And I just want to, I don't know, I'm just
so
saying,
regarding that thing there about the Buddhist distinction, it might be the case that in some manifestations of being, a mental object arises unbidden, and it becomes the attention of the agent reflexively or implicitly. So the fact that it's an object unbidden means it's an observed object unbidden, namely that the individual who's presumably on the internal metaphysical field found this object having arose or arisen has at least observed it, or else we wouldn't be talking about it. So implicit to the idea that you know something is that you are attending to that knowledge right now. So if I say, I know that's my cat right there, it means I'm paying attention to the fact that this data equals my cat. Or in other words, the object in my head, comprising the sentence, my cat is right there, is a knowledge object, and it's not an object of analysis where the status is in dispute. So we all draw distinctions between those things that comprise knowledge objects and those things that comprise statuses in dispute. And deliberation and knowledge functions act accordingly. Knowledge is received unbidden; it's a receive function. Deliberation is a get function. It presumes a will behind it that seeks information, and action is that which is puts information, and also presumes a perceived will behind it that is putting the information. So I'm not quite sure how to respond to the Buddhist thing, because I think they're not accounting for enough factors to meaningfully talk about it. Now that I think about it in terms of these 4 different fields and directionalities and stuff and manners of attention, it's hard for me to process other stuff which I see as fundamentally metaphorical because they don't begin at that spot. But I know that's not adequate. I know that's not an adequate critique to the specifics. So I try to understand the specifics more clearly. But of course, to me, it just sounds like metaphorical nonsense. So I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out the concepts. I don't really have any meaningful association already attached. I was just curious what you thought.
Yeah, and I didn't actually think you were touched. I'm responding as honestly as I can about it. It's like I was into Zen Buddhism for a while when I was younger, and I sat zazen for stretches of time. And from my takeaway on the whole matter is that it's a very NISE frame of reference, such that they're saying be in a continual state of NI readiness to receive the experiences that moving through life inherently confers upon you in some regard. Be constantly in a receive state, but of course that's contrary to the fundamental nature of something like me, for whom receive state is last in the stack. I found it very physically uncomfortable to sit there still for 40 minutes.
There's this really interesting idea that I think it's John Beebe's idea that psychoanalysis in the West is akin to the West's choosing thinking and feeling, choosing a judging function to discern their identity in relation to the rest, where the Eastern psychotherapy being, Zen kind of tradition,
It's you.
or
Yes. It's the
it's
kid with the
more
big peach nose.
intuitive
Yes,
sentence that you kind of dissolve into God itself. And I thought that was a really interesting distinction.
Beauty.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Western psychotherapy is also fundamentally built on a TE frame of reference plus an FI frame of reference. The FI frame of reference says there is a fundamental you that is okay. The TE frame of reference says your current problems represent deviation from that fundamental okay norm. And that norm is always fundamentally okay because no matter how many problems it has associated with it, somehow its authenticity validates it. So implicit in Western therapy is that FI, the authentic you, once returned to or fully realized, once you get there after getting through all this stuff, will reveal all you need to know about it, but also the TE frame of reference that says, and your deviation from that is a problem to be solved.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also NI sort of shit like I'm so sorry you missed it. Rachel said something hilarious. She said, "Don't hate the player, hate the game." Anyway, so I think that I think there's also a TIFENI kind of component to it. Like, it depends on the therapist, right? People tend to push their own bias onto everybody. So, if you are an ENFJ therapist, you are going to assume that your singular NI truth is probably the solution. That the problem, therefore, is their having not yet been exposed to the singular truth that resolves all their problems. But of course, if that person that they're dealing with is in fact NI polar, then their NI truths will continue to fall on deaf ears. They'll go home and say, "Oh my gosh, what a frustrating client."
Kind of relationship with God.
Well, I don't really see God and psychotherapy as having anything to do with each other. So
they say they can't hear you.
no, it's because I mute when you're coughing sometimes.
Sorry.
It's okay. I try to manage the mute button. I'm trying to manage it more successfully now because I've got it set up here so that I can push this presumably. No, it still does the same thing. Never mind. It doesn't help. So the point is, what was the question? What were we talking about?
I was just talking about West versus East.
Oh,
and
right.
kind of associating perception with the East and judgment with the West.
Yeah, I don't see the same things, see the things as related because, um, so when I talk to people, and sometimes they talk to me in a life coachy kind of a capacity, you could say.
Mhm.
Uh, when that happens, it's it's an appropriately TE frame. They've concluded that perhaps the thing is complicated enough, or they're too close to it, or for whatever, that another pair of eyes that is both objective and presumed by them to be wise, or insightful and or um, well intentioned, um, that will assist them in solving this problem. There's that kind of thing that I understand completely, and I don't necessarily think it links to religion. Now, there's other kinds of questions which are um, questions like, "Am I okay?" fundamentally, and or "What is my purpose?" and "What makes me feel as though I'm not there's not a hole somewhere in my life or whatever." Those kind of questions are. I'm not sure they're often. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe they are often brought to psychologists. Do you think so?
I mean, it depends. It depends on how bent toward, you know, openness, you know, intuition that the person is. What kind of questions are they asking? Right?
I mean, the thing is this. It's not like society's made things the way they are. It's that a secular society is not secular because it favors secularism. It's secular because it doesn't insist on any particular kind of religious response to anything. So it's the reality of the free religious market. People have access to as much religion as they want, and many different options as to what they want to ascribe to. So, and how they want to use it as well. It's not like society replaced religion with psychology. It's like people found advantages in secularizing aspects of religion.
Okay, but I mean, just going back, would you say that the Western approach is to build a relationship with God, and that the Buddhist approach is to achieve emptiness? Do you see what I'm saying? Like to bolster himself against.
I would say the Eastern approach is to attain oneness, which may or may not be synonymous with emptiness.
I mean, that's Hindu, and then Buddhist is emptiness, you know.
All
so
right.
I guess so.
All right, fine. All right. Okay. I'll concede the point that the East is about emptiness, and Western traditions are about building a relationship with God and or managing a relationship with God's prescriptions and conscriptions and so forth.
But I mean, do you think that the history of that relationship has affected the development of these versus the West? You know what I mean? I mean, it has to have. You know,
Well, yeah,
Confucianism.
sure. I mean, look, it's the difference between a central tenet that says forgiveness is the primary positive moral indication, and a central tenet that says get rid of desires or attachments. That's very different because, of course, in the former, you are instructed to attach yourself to a principle, and in the latter, you're instructed that all principles fundamentally break down as excessively totalizing, and that it's an attachment to anything, be it idea, thing in the world, person, or whatever, that causes suffering. So let's avoid the attachment. I find the East, you know, to put it bluntly, when asked about Buddhism and so forth, my gut response is, that's pussy shit. I mean, I'm sorry.
I think it's true.
It's just kind of my gut response.
No, I understand, dude. I totally agree. I'm saying it's oriented toward perception and removes the subject. You know what I mean? I don't think it's valuable for modern man. You know what I mean?
It rejects the idea that evil men prosper when good men do nothing.
Sure.
And I don't reject that idea. I think that there's truth to it. And it rejects the idea that even though we can't establish them precisely, that there are positive moral indications that that one ought to, when opportunity, circumstance, and such permit, and it's consistent with one's own ontology and understanding of Mya, and also doesn't violate any negative prohibitions, then there are circumstances when one ought to do something good that's not provably morally obligatory. Let's see who's calling. Of course it is. Do I have an appointment tonight? Hello? Hi. What do you want me to work with him about? What time? Yeah, I could do that. Okay. Yeah, sure. What time? Okay. Yeah. Alright, cool. Alright, late. Bye. Yep. Once you get an ESTJ in your life, you get to hear a lot of their voice,
It's true. That's a good way of putting it.
We get to enjoy many conversations with Jeffrey's mom about how fret-inducing this or that insurmountable TEFI problem is.
Did I show you this?
No.
My mom sent it to us.
How adorable. You can't see it at all. That is adorable. It's a transparent pumpkin. It says Happy Thanksgiving, Rachel and Derek. It's sent to make sure that we understand that she's more on top of the FE shit than Rachel is even. So don't get big-headed, Rachel. That's why she sent that. I bet you.
I know. I don't.
Did I call it Rachel or what?
You did.
Did we talk about this at all before?
You know why? I know why too. It's because I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to be so close to the mic. It's because she wants me to send her like photos and like drawings and stuff, which like normally is fine, but the fact that she like
Let's turn that shit on her. Send her all kinds of shit. Let's just send
Okay,
her
alright.
boxes and boxes of random shit. Just,
that would be so
and here's some
funny.
rocks we found in our yard.
We could send her like
Let's call it the old "a taste of your own medicine" strategy.
okay.
So okay, so we're on the same page about the west-east thing, I guess. I just find that, because when I got to AA and it came time to have a relationship with a higher power, my first response to that was to try to leave the higher power as unspecified as possible. Like, okay, it was just God. If I could just reduce it to one letter, just G would be fine. Just like try to stay away from the word as much as possible. It makes me uncomfortable, And then over time, I came to see that one has to have a way to understand God's frame of reference. And Christianity provides the only, in my opinion, intuitively resonant and correct frame of reference. So I ascribe to the central Bible story of Christ being God's child and having him been crucified and then come back to life. And that's about as much of the official Bible stuff that I pay any attention to. I figure that's enough to provide me the frame of reference, so I don't really need to know a lot more about it, because I feel like all the details cascade down from the from the top level rules. So if I understand all the top level rules, I can be consistent with it. Because I'm assuming God wants me to be consistent.
What do you think about what do you think about that story? Do you think it happened in reality?
I mean, that's the area where I go. I understand what I refer to as my magical thinking frame of reference and the details that are required for it to work, but I don't typically. I don't think that is predicated on my affirming them as statements of affirmation. In other words, things that are to be argued about. In other words, I don't believe I need to affirm the statement that God exists to pray to God under the following frame of reference.
Yeah, sure.
This is something that I got an email. This was the start of this video is about that specifically. Is that I got this email by this guy who was really angry at me for having this position. Basically, they wanted to come in and argue that God doesn't exist, and I said, well, my faith in God isn't predicated on Him existing, and they just didn't like that. What can you say?
Why do you need to have an objective argument?
Right, my point is it's part of my magical thinking metaframe. So as part of magical thinking means that I have magical reasons for it.
What kind of magical stuff is going on right now?
I don't know, some sort of magical stuff.
Do you believe in like holofractal shit? Like universal resonance, things like that?
Not that I know of. I don't.
Yeah, there's a subreddit on it that a couple of my friends are into. I think it's cool.
Universal resonance?
Yeah, it's the idea that you have these geometric things that form across mediums, throughout the universe.
I believe you mean media.
Okay.
Kitten just got schooled. He said mediums.
Who cares about?
I'm just joking, Kitten. Who gives a fuck?
Morale.
Oh, Kitty Morale is so
my
wonderful.
darling. Hey, here's a poker.
Oh, cool.
You're welcome.
Everybody loves a poker.
Yeah.
Rachel played.
Grass Eater wants you to join his boy band, Kenton. My question to Grass Eater would be why you haven't even heard him sing yet.
I don't sing. I play instruments though. You sang me a song once, Eric. I don't remember.
I don't.
Yeah, it was about 6 months ago. You sang my name and I forget what you said I did. It wasn't good.
Wasn't good?
The song was good. The performance was good. But
the message wasn't?
My
about...
content in your song wasn't good.
Oh. You never know what Indy's going to do with something. I wouldn't take it too seriously.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Shoot, can I screen share?
Yes. Do all introverts have a rich inner life, meaning a vivid imagination? I don't know how true that is for ISTJs, for example. Do all types have a rich inner life? Well, the thing about it is, what comprises a rich inner life? Because I know that, for example, with ISFJ, that their inner life regarding their own body is way better than mine. So they have a very good inner life when it comes to their stomach, and when it comes to their sleepiness, and when it comes to their thirst, when it comes to whether they're too hot or cold, when it comes to whether they're too close to horse dander, to which they're somewhat allergic. They have a very great and deep inner life in that regard. It's not fancy sounding like intuitive inner life. My inner life is a magical realm of imagination and ideation, where insights come like lightning bolts from every direction.
Do you have an inner life, Eric?
I mean, my inner life is it's not it's not very impressive at all. It's like for example, earlier today when we were driving. What was I thinking about when we were driving down to the weed store? Oh, I think I was thinking about this email. I was thinking about this email I'd gotten. I was going, God damn this fucker, you know.
Yeah.
Here I am, thinking about this email. All I read was the title of it. At the beginning of it, it said, "You are a liar and a fraud." And I'm like, all right, here we go. God damn it. Like, you know, it's frustrating to know that one is able to have one's headspace co-opted in that fashion with just, you know, with comparatively little effort on the part of the annexer. And then a lot of times I'll be thinking about things like, I wonder if I don't know. I say this kind of things to Rachel a lot. I wonder if, and then I'll say something that I was thinking of. I don't really remember them usually, unless it's particularly insightful.
Aren't you just
Yeah, no, you
externalizing
do
it?
muse a
Right?
lot.
Aren't I just say again?
Aren't you just externalizing it? Just in that example, you know, you think of something and then you say it, and then you have the interface with the other person to come to, you know, realize the idea fully.
Yeah, well, and sometimes I might feel an FE pressure to interface about the idea before I have it fully realized, but sometimes it makes me think out the thing. So
Yeah, you were good to like get it out. You said it pissed you off. I felt bad. Sucked.
it's funny. I didn't feel that bad. I
No,
said
not
I
at the
felt bad,
time.
you know, it's.
I felt bad, and I was like, that's the life of having, you know, being a public figure and having your, you know, email and number out there. You're gonna get like haters and the like love too. But for some reason, like.
But the other thing is, I think of it as an opportunity. So I've been making a point of trying to respond to things with less emotional expressiveness. There's to say, just take kind of a more of a disinterested approach towards responding and not being quite so dramatic. I mean, come on! This is trying to tune that shit down a little bit. And so I kind of saw it as an opportunity to continue an approach that I hope will ultimately end up working, which is, and I didn't really do this with homie here, whatever his name is, but I tried to do it with Jeff Shaw, which is maybe if I met up enough and sort of describe the process and all the elements of the process as accurately and honestly as I can, including those that don't make me look good, that maybe then I will become owner of that process and figure out how to bypass my own shortcomings and pitfalls.
Right. I mean, at least you get that out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel satisfied after these live streams or videos that I make or whatever. It does vent my meow. So if, let's say, an earlier thing, I read something, or an earlier video, somebody said something in the chat, and it's bugging me or whatever, and then I make a video about it, then it does cease to bug me thereafter. It's like, okay, that's taken care of. And if the other person wants to continue it, usually, at that point, I just want to ignore that, because I feel like, okay, I said what I had to say about that. And that's kind of satisfying. But, what's my take on Marxism? I mean, come on.
Marx was the GOAT. He was pretty cool.
Was he?
He was a goat?
I mean, I think some of the stuff he said was pretty cool.
Did he slay the puss?
He's a cool guy philosopher.
Yeah, well.
I have something to ask you. I forget what it was now. Oh yeah, I remember. As a fan, I was thinking yesterday, I was like, I wonder how long you've been saying yeah. How long have you been saying yeah?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Probably 5 or 6 years or something.
Wow.
Not longer than that. On the other hand, saying don't forget to eat plenty of cheese predates the YouTube channel. It's something I said to classes when the period would end, when they'd leave it, when I was a school teacher. I'd say, okay, don't forget to do problems 5 and 6, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.
Nice.
So it was sort of a trademark from school, and I just naturally, without really thinking about it, applied it to this.
Hey, Eric, I got a question.
Yeah.
As an NTP, how do you develop your FE? How do you develop the ability to not be conceptual all the time?
I did via YouTube, because YouTube, if you are motivated by if you can read the room and you are motivated to change accordingly, then you will find yourself improving in the FE. There are a lot of FE mistakes I used to make that I no longer do, and part of that is because of genuine FI growth as well. There was a stretch of time where I genuinely didn't seem to understand that I had more narrative power than the people I was talking about in certain circumstances where I did. And that came from an excessive impulse towards egalitarianism, to affording everybody the benefit of the doubt that they were, to treat them as equals or whatever. But I've learned a lot about how people in general can be quite fragile, and myself included, and that it's important to care and to include that vector as much as I can in my processes. I don't always succeed. Like, I don't think I succeeded very nicely today necessarily in dealing with dialectic evolution's email. Although I don't think I was especially mean about it either, so I don't know.
I stand with
It's
you on
a
that.
pointless thing to debate to somebody who has already formed their own opinion, because it's like, I don't know. The arguments are well formed, and I have a subjective arrangement that works for me, that I don't want to have to debate or justify.
Yeah,
I mean, is that FI?
yeah, I mean, in general, but it really depends. So whether or not you want to debate or justify something stems from, this is one of my boundaries, or whether it stems from, I'm bored of this, I've answered this stuff too many times before, are different things. So I was in a bad relationship before where I realized that I had a boundary when it came to my own family. When my ex tried to rewrite my family history to make it more like hers and have sort of unhealthy relationships between my parents and me and stuff, I said, I don't like this, and you need to stop doing this, and I didn't feel a need to justify myself, or any desire to justify myself. And I felt like any contradiction of my narrative on this was inherently offensive, and I didn't like it. So that's when I first really understood what it meant to have FI boundaries. Actually, the first time in my life I really feel like I understood what that meant. Where, oh, I get it. I get it now when people don't want to argue about something and don't want to They're like I'm feeling right now. Like, this is my thing. You just stay the fuck away. I don't want to argue about it. However, of course, that's a much more reasonable thing to have an FI boundary about than, say, public policy.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead and ask a question, question mark.
What is question mark gonna ask?
Let's find out. James wants to know if you're an INTP.
I am.
He is. I think he is too. I can just sort of like smell the INTP on him.
Yeah, I'm nodding.
I've been in a debate between INTP and INTJ, because I think I've taken so many psychedelics that I have so much NI just like from that or something.
INTP.
I think you're an
Like,
INTP.
Yeah.
The NF turned up, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What was
Ooh.
that? You didn't even do that. I don't know what that was. So, anywho.
That's in the Matrix.
Kitten,
Sound like
Kitten,
the
what type do you think
James.
Frank James is? Question mark.
Sorry, that's bad.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, he doesn't know who that is, so there you go.
That's your answer.
Okay.
I can't. Why would you ask?
So, do you have any other questions, Kenton? Any other thoughts?
I have a question.
Yes.
How did Kenton, how did you hear about this channel?
My friend Alex Walker, he and I are really into Myers-Briggs. He's an ENTP. He actually wants to debate you at some point. So
What does he want to debate me about?
I don't know. He just wants to talk to you in general. He's a lot more outward than I am.
No doubt. No doubt he is.
Yep.
That's the funny thing about being an ENTP, right? You hear somebody else like, oh, my friend's an ENTP. Oh, cool. Not, he wants to meet you. Not, oh, he really likes your stuff. Not like, he thinks he agrees with this position or this position, but immediately he wants to debate you.
He
Okay.
wants to debate you.
We certainly are awful human beings, aren't we, ENTPs? I'm the same way. It's like show me an ENTP and I'll go. Arr, arr. It's just unavoidable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. I love you guys.
What does an INTP look like?
What is an INTP? INTP what? Relationship?
Yeah, because you were saying you
Oh,
with another
what happens
INTP.
when INTPs hit other INTPs?
Yeah.
It's a good question, Kenton.
I've never met another one,
Oh.
Wow.
honestly.
So, like, for me as an INFJ, it can be very difficult for me to listen to some of Frank James's advice. Like, I think it's wise, and also sometimes it's way too, like, personal. And I, like, get in my feels, and I can't listen to him for a little bit.
I like your use of the expression "pop off," Running Fox. It's a good compromise, between the profane and the mild.
Yeah, that is.
Truly.
What's the
She's
mild
getting
end?
G.
What's the mild end of the spectrum? You've got F off at the top end of the spectrum. You got pop off in the middle. What's the other end? Like go fly a kite? I think it's go fly a
Go
kite.
Fly a Kite is pretty innocent.
That's pretty mild.
Mhm.
Never heard that one, Eric. Sorry.
You've never heard go fly
Really?
a kite? You're getting old too now, Rachel. See,
Yeah, I am. See?
I'm from Ohio.
they don't do
It's
it
a-
like
it's-
that.
My grandma used to say it. Go fly a kite.
It's because
I would. She'd tell me.
it's because kite flying is illegal in Ohio.
I wonder.
That's why.
Sorry about that.
Hi, Scottish people. The Scots are here, Kenton. Scottish people,
Yeah,
do you
they
have
are.
any questions for American or Canadian INTP? Or, from Ohio, right? It's America. Or, do you have any interesting questions about Scotland, Kenton, that you'd like to ask while we're all in the same room?
Scotland. Do you have any free bagpipes?
Does Scotland issue its citizens free bagpipes? It's a good question. It's a very good question.
I'd love to have the bagpipes.
I wouldn't mind having some bagpipes.
My dad loves bagpipes. He like can't get over it.
Kenton, you and I should both get bagpipes and have a bagpipe off.
Oh my god, my dad would sit and watch for hours.
I would definitely.
He'd probably cry too.
Okay. We are putting together, Rachel and I and the rest of the community, a metaphysical, hypothetical, eventual,
Yeah.
ultimate TWFP meetup in Vegas. Now, one of the things we want to have is donkey water polo. So that's, you put a shallow pool, you have donkeys that you're riding, and the donkeys have to wade in the pool, and you basically play
Oh my
water
God.
polo. Okay, water polo on donkeys.
Oh my god. No, well.
But
can
I
we-
also like this new idea. What was the idea we just had right there? What were we talking about a second ago?
I don't know, playing bagpipes
Oh, yeah,
and having
bagpipe
my
off.
dad sit and watch
A
him
bagpipe
cry.
off, okay? So it's a group bagpipe off. So everybody starts playing the bagpipes together.
Oh my God.
Wait, listen, Rachel, I want to explain the details of it, okay? It's everybody starts playing the bagpipes together, and then there's a judge who walks around and listens to each one playing the bagpipes, and he gets to the end of the group, and he goes, okay, you were the worst, you get eliminated. And he goes around and around again. So it's a test not just of bagpipe skill, but bagpipe endurance. So by the winner will have played the bagpipes continually for at least 3.5 hours.
Can I have my dad as one of the judges?
Your
I
dad can
swear
be
to
the
God,
judge.
he
No,
loves
your
the
dad's the
bagpipes.
perfect judge. Your dad's the perfect
Okay,
judge
cool.
for the bagpipe off.
Alright,
So wait,
he would be honored.
Is it on donkey water polo?
No, it's not at the same time. Those are separate events.
Okay.
Totally separate events. We also want to have an uck-in of some sort, which is to say, we'd like to get variety of different sized animals that fit into each other and cook and stuff them together that are not normally cooked and stuffed together.
Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, yeah, we've been talking about that.
Right, you start with the biggest, like a buffalo, right? Let's say a bison
A
is
bison.
slightly smaller than a buffalo, though. Well, then you put the bison inside the buffalo.
Okay.
Let's say a cow is slightly smaller than a bison. You put the cow inside the bison. Then you work your way down your mammals until you get to field mouse at the very end. In the center, you have a succulent field mouse. What do you think, Kenton? Would you like to take a big slice of that?
You have to cook that for like fucking forever.
Oh,
Oh my God, Kitten got so lucky. He got the field mouse.
is this the A/B choice? I mean, that's a lot of animals, man.
It is a lot of
It
animals.
really is.
It's a real commitment to the concept of uckening. And I think that's what they should call that. So the process of treating things like a turducken should be called uckening, don't you think?
Uckening, yeah.
It's a good
So
verb
what
for
is
it.
it? What is
Well, you can ucken any number of animals. Like you could ucken your reptiles. You could start with an
bison
alligator.
ucking?
I mean, uckening is the process. Look, you know how you rice cauliflower?
Right.
And you can also cauliflower rice when you gather your rice together and make them into little cauliflower shaped
Cubes,
statues.
yes, I worked
But
at
anyway,
I worked at Trader Joe's and people loved it.
uckening meats. Basically you can say, it's a 6 ucken in the store, and then it'll just list an order of the different animals. So
yeah.
you could go reptiles. You could start with alligator. Actually, start with like a Komodo dragon.
Oh my gosh, I think that's illegal.
Then put an alligator. Then a caiman inside of it.
Yeah.
Then,
I like that. I like this. This is getting really
a large
risky.
desert lizard of some kind inside of that. Then a snake inside of that. Then a salamander inside of that. And a newt in the juicy center.
You know who's gonna want that?
People who love reptiles and amphibians to eat.
Yes, and people who have the money to eat reptilian things and
Uckened reptiles.
Yep.
Um.
Oh, he's newt.
Okay, so now we have a new technique we're going to use for our massive meal, which is also going to include the technique of deviling. We're going to devil things.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna devil things. Shit, there was something that I wanted to tell you, but I totally forgot it. It's like totally out of my mind, and it's pissing me off. How could I have forgotten? Whatever.
I wonder if we could have competitive cultural appropriation.
Should I dip, man?
What?
Should I dip, man?
If you want to, I don't care. I'm gonna probably wrap this up in a second. I'm getting tired. I want to eat something.
I mean,
I have to work with Jeffrey at 8 o'clock. I kind of watch some
so you really
sports.
should eat and watch sports then, or I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I think I'll wrap this up. Thanks for being here, Kenton. Pleasure having you here. You're welcome to come back and chat with me anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. And everybody, please remember to eat
They had
plenty
McDonald's.
of cheese.
The Scots had McDonald's.
The Scots have McDonald's?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats. It's actually a really nice dinner for you guys. Like,
Yeah. You're used to
Congrats on
eating
that.
squirrels and stuff, and you finally get to eat real food.
oh, cool.
Seahawks Cardinals at 520. Thanks, Freddie Ferrogiato. That's good. That's good advice.
Shit, I
That's-
really can't believe I can't remember that they were.
There you are.
saved.
Look, there's your head. See it?
What?
Ah,
Yeah.
See your head down there? Oh my gosh.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
me. It's
my
Rachel.
head.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
I remember I have it.
Meow. I'm gonna meow.
Don't forget to